Up next, Azure OpenAI. In today's video, I am diving into the world of artificial intelligence chatbots using Azure OpenAI and C Sharp. Whether you're new to AI or a seasoned developer looking to add conversational intelligence into your apps, this video is for you. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jubril and I am a software engineer. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll show you how to build a chatbot from scratch, step by step with Azure OpenAI. I'll start by setting up an OpenAI service in Azure Portal, then deploy a model in Azure AI Studio, and then integrate that with C# code. Imagine building a chatbot that can answer questions, engage with users, and even provide customer support, all powered by advanced AI models. And the best part, you can do this using C#, one of the most popular programming language in the industry. Setting up an OpenAI resource in Azure, deploy a model coding with C#. By the end of this video, you will have a fully functional chatbot ready to integrate into your own project. Let's do this. So first, I'm going to go to Azure Portal. On Azure Portal, I'm going to search for Azure OpenAI. And that's the service I want to create. So select create a new OpenAI service. You have to select a resource group or you create a new one, whichever one. My region, I'm selecting East US. And for the name of the OpenAI service, I'll just call that JubrilBot OpenAI service. All right, and for the skill tier, select the previous one. Let's put service 1 on this one here. If it says it's existing, I don't know. I don't have anyone like that before. But anyway, let's move forward. Select that. Create for the network. Well, we don't need that in this scenario. Usually, if you want to, localize your OpenAI service within your own network, like virtual network or organization network, then you will need to do some configurations here. But on this tutorial, we really don't need that. So I'll just go ahead and proceed and create the service. So the service is being created now. It's initializing the deployment, submitting it, and then it should deploy it in less than a few minutes. Let's see. Now the service is deployed. Now we have our OpenAI service here. So in the OpenAI service, one thing I want you to pay attention to is the key and open endpoint. The key, we are going to use it in the code. That's what we use to plug our code to this service itself, and also the open endpoint as well. We need in that. But also we need to deploy a model that we will be plugging with this OpenAI service, and that is actually going to take us to a whole new different portal, which is Azure AI portal. If I click on manage deployment, it's going to take me to that portal direct. Now we are in Azure AI Studio. One thing you want to pay attention to is when you want to deploy, you have to come to the all resource and make sure that you are selecting the resource that you just created in Azure portal, which is this one, JubrilBot OpenAI service, right? So that's what I'm selecting, and I'm there now. So I'm going to click on deploy model. So in the deploy model, you can deploy model from Azure Machine Learning. That that's a whole different portal. We have ml.portal.azure.com. So you can actually, that's where you actually train and build model, but that's not what we are doing here. You can also deploy fine-tune model, but in this video, we'll be doing deploy base model, which is like the basic one. And I'll select GPT-4 model because the latest one 4.0 is still kind of like a preview. So I'll just go with the most stable one that is recent. I'll click on confirm. And here you have to make sure that the Azure OpenAI resource that you are deploying a model on is the one you created on Azure Portal, right? So my deployment name, I'll just call that JubrilBot. I will also be using that as well. We'll get there. Then I'll deploy the model now. It's creating the deployment. Now it looks like we've deployed the model, and then the URL, the target URL, the open endpoint that I have here. This is the fully qualified endpoint that I'll be using, and it's similar to what I have in my Azure OpenAI service as well. So we have the keys and endpoints, JubrilBot OpenAI service 1. And then we want to make sure that matches what we have a JubrilBot OpenAI service 1. And the keys are also the same. So now we've deployed our bot. So we can actually do a little bit of testing here to see how we can chat. You can chat with your bot. But what I want to do is I want to make it like customer facing. Let me type something here real quick. Let me say, hello, how are you? and see what happens. All right. So you see, I put a chat here and the bot responds to me. I'm just a computer program, so I don't have feelings, but I'm here and ready to assist you. All right. So that's what we'll be doing. So let's say something like when was America founded? The United States of America was founded in July 4. Basically, it's starting to respond. So we've actually deployed a model here. But how do I make this model customer facing? Like, how do I make it like if you, as a user, want to use this model, I need to give you a user interface that you can actually type your question, and then I will have to write a code that will bring all your questions all the way to this portal, and then the bot will respond, and then it will also transmit the response back to you, right? That's what we are trying to do. So now that we've deployed this model, and then we have our Azure OpenAI service, so that's where we now have to go into our code and write a code and build a customer-facing application that can actually consume this bot. So for that, I've created my Visual Studio here. So I've created this bot here, this chatbot, Jubril bot controller. That's where we'll be doing all the implementation. So one of the things you have to do first is to import this Azure OpenAI NuGet package. I've already done that, but you have to do that because that's the NuGet package that plugs your code that actually communicates with the OpenAI service. All right. So what I'll be doing here is I'll create an Azure OpenAI client. I'll declare the variable here, Azure OpenAI client. I'll just assign the value to that. Then the next thing I want to do is actually to grab my deployment name, right? So let's just assign that real quick. Let's go to the Azure portal real quick and see what I have on the deployment name. My deployment name is, let's go to deployments. My deployment name is Jubril bot here. So I also want to put that in my code. That's a string. And in real life, all of these can actually be stored in app settings, just JSON, key vault and all that, but I don't need to go through all that now. I just want to do a, brute force solution, at least to pass the idea across. So I'm going to create a constructor here to encapsulate all the details I'm trying to declare. In the constructor, then I'll just pull in my API key. So the API key is what we have here in our Azure portal. You can pick it from here. I'm going to delete this this resource anyway, so it doesn't matter. You can check out the key, but it won't be available by the time this video is posted. Also, in the endpoint here, resource management, the keys here, you can pick it. They are the same. You can pick it from here or you can pick it from here. They're actually the same thing. So I'll just grab that and then go back to my code. And I'll assign that here as a string value. Again, do not put this in your code in real life. This has to be either in the key vault or in some secret place, and then you are referencing it from there. Okay, so that's how that works. But I'm just doing this just for this tutorial. So, and then the endpoint, I have to grab my endpoint from the portal as well. So basically what I'm doing is I'm plugging my code to this Azure AI service, and then I'll be able to consume it in my code. So with this now, I have plugged my code to the Azure AI service. Now my code, it knows the OpenAI endpoint to call, and then the security key that will give it access to that OpenAI service and also access to the deployment name that I deployed in the Azure AI Studio. And one other thing I want to do is the instantiate the AI client and also embed the endpoint and the API key into that for authorization purpose. So what I'll do is I'll just assign that the endpoint here and the API keys here. I'm going to embed it in this OpenAI client because I'll be using this OpenAI client to communicate with the Azure AI service. So the URL I'll be using will be the endpoint. And And then the second parameter it takes is the API keys. Let's see, API keys, API key credentials, and all of these are coming from the Azure OpenAI client NuGet package. So I think that should be it. All right, so now this AI client now should have all these credentials it needs to plug into the Azure OpenAI service. And we can actually start, getting our hands dirty on how we want to implement it. So first, what do I want to do? Let's look into this. I want to create an application that when the AI pops up, it comes out with a chat window that you as a user can input your query or prompt that you want to send to the model to give you a response, right? So I will need to load the chat window with a GET request. Let me just put that here. All right, just to make sure that I'm following up with what I'm doing. So initially, what I'll do is I want to, just like when ChatGPT is working, right? When you're using ChatGPT, you want to have something that to actually keep the chat history. So for that, basically what I'll be doing here is just grabbing the chat history first. Over chat history, I'll be using HTTP context service session. We're going to keep it in a session. So by the time you start running the code, the session will be active and then it will know that this is your section, so it can grab your specific chat history. If chat history is equals to 0, then chat history, we want to add the current chat history. So what we are doing here is like the moment you launch the page, the chat bot, and it wants to check if there is an existing session. So if there's no existing session, you want to actually show a message like, hey, welcome, my name is Jubril bot, da 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 da. So that way that you get a welcome message from the chatbot. So I'll use that chatbot name as Jubril bot. Hello, my name is Jubril bot. How may I help you today? All right, so that will be the first message you will get from the chatbot when there is no existing chat or when you launch it at the first time. Then we want to set that session to make sure that a session is created. Then that will be the chat history. The session will grab everything from the chat history. All right, so now we've set a session here now. And let's go to the model. That will be our chat view model. So this chat view model, I created that. I'll show you what I have in there. I just have go to definition. So I have the user input, whatever you as a user you put in the chatbot, I'm grabbing that, and also the chat history, the list of chat history, I'm grabbing that as well. So that's pretty much what I have in the chat view model. And in the view model, I'll just set the chat history to whatever chat history is in the session. All right, so then I'll return the this model here on the chat. So now this should give us the chatbot on the UI. And the next thing I want to do is to handle the user input and return the AI response. So that I will need to still use the index the same chatbot, the same window, but then I also need to make that a post method. So I just copy this here and then create a new. Actually, let me put a comment there. Undo your input and return the AI response. That'll be a post request. So let's put a annotation there for posts, and then HTTP post actually. All right, so in this post now, HTTP post, sorry, excuse me. So in this post method now, I'll be creating another session for the chat history like I did here. Just so I want to grab the same chat history. So I'll do that here. And if the model, so here I need to have an object of the chat view model here. I'll call that model. So that way I'll use the user input object in here, property in here to grab the value from the UI when user inputted the model. So if let's do a conditional statement. If there's no value in the user input model, we are going to create a chat client that will now start transmitting the user messages. Okay. So we are getting the chat client from the OpenAI NuGet package that we just created earlier on, because that is what is actually plugging our code to the chatbot itself. And in the chat client itself, we need to let it know that, hey, we want to talk to that deployment model we just deployed now. So that will be asking for the deployment name that I declared up there, Jubril bots. So this is the first access we are having to the chat bot that we deployed. The chat completion is basically to send the chat that we created to that chat client, the chatbot that we created. So whatever value we grab from the chat client, we are sending it there. Dot complete chat. So take each characters of all the chat we are sending in arrays and send it there, and let the bot actually figure it out and respond back with a message. The user chat message, and then what are we putting in the user chat message? Which is the model input, the input of the user. So that will be model.input. All right. So we are now adding all of that in a chat history, in our chat history session. So we keep track of that. So whatever chat you send, I'll use that as you. That will be that will be the title of the chat. So just so the bot will know, just so you can actually segregate, the chat itself. You can see what's coming from the bot, and you can see what you are sending. So what is coming from you will be whatever value that is in the model.input. And then we also want to add what is coming from the chatbot to the session as well. I'll call that Jubril bots. Then that is a response coming back from the chat, which is this completion object here. whatever content that is coming back from the chat, give it, break it down into character array. And then whatever text that comes with that, that's what I want to see. All right. So we've been able to do that now, and now we need to set that into session. We've added that into this session, and then we want to actually set it so that it sticks to this section. HTTP context, not context. Alrighty. So that is done, and then the model inputs. Once that is brought down, then I want to clear the model input so that way you can put in a new input from the chat. You don't want to send in something from the chat box, and then you still have it there. So the moment you click send, I want to clear it. Alrighty, and after that, I think that one should happen after this block of code really. So that will be here, and then I want to return the view model. All right, so now we've been able to implement all that now. I actually already created a UI. I'm not talking about the UI in this one, but I already created a little fancy UI that's going to handle everything that I'm doing in the chatbot video. So let me go ahead and run this code real quick and see how that comes up. So you can have a UI now that you can interface with, and behind of the UI, I've written a bunch of C# code that will relay your message to the chatbot, to the Azure OpenAI service that we created. So now we have our application here. If I go to this one here that says JubrilBot, okay, we have a message. It says session has not been configured for this application request. Okay, that's a good response. You know, we are actually, I'm creating a session. I'm creating a session here, but then I did not register in .NET Core. Whatever you are doing, you have to register it in dependency injection in the program.cs. So I have to go and register it there because right now it's compiling the code, but I couldn't find where I register session. So I'll go to the program.cs file. Then I will have to register the session here. Builder.services.add session. All right, then I also need to let the dependency injection knows that, hey, I'll be using session here also. So let me add it somewhere here. I'll just put app.use session. So I'll go ahead and run this code again and see if the session fixed it. It will fix it actually. So let's just run it again. And now we have the app up and running. If I click on JubrilBot, you can see this first message is here, and the message is displaying because there's no current session going on. So because that's what I put in here, hey, if the chat history, if there's no previous chat history, just type in this message. That will be the first welcome message you get from the bot, and then create a session here. Set the session as whatever parameter I put in here. So I'll go back to the UI, and I can just type in any message here. I can say, where is Nigeria located? Now, before I type in send, I want to just walk you through briefly what's going on. So once you click send here, I'm taking that from my controller. It comes to my controller here, and my controller will grab the user inputs and then send it using this chat client library object here, send it to our AI client that we declared here. Remember, the AI client is from the Azure OpenAI client that I created in my Azure portal. So in Azure portal, I created it. So the message, this service that I created here, will grab that message you put on the UI and then send it all the way to this model that we deployed here. So that is what is happening. And then yeah, now you can go to the UI, you send your message, the AI service grab it and send it to the model we created. Where is Nigeria located? And the model responded, and then the AI client also brought the response back to you. Nigeria is located in West Africa. You can literally ask it any question. When was America founded? Founded. Send it, response to you, anything. How do I learn to code? Send. Now you have your message here, a bunch of messages here. You can tell it anything actually. So this kind of chatbot now, you can actually use it. You can add it as a feature in whatever application you are building, or maybe if you even want to have a customer service assistant on your web app or anything, you can train your own model and then use this open AI service to create a chatbot. So it's a really interesting feature actually.